Thank you. I'm not a very good dancer, so please don't ask me to dance. I was just sitting in the background, not really doing much. All right. Can you hear me all right? Sorry, 1 second. Here we go. Well, thank you. Again, my name is Paul. I'm the product lead for Google Consumer Surveys. I started the project about 3 years ago with a friend of mine, and we're working on it still today. Today I brought something special with me. I keep it on my desk, but I want to give you guys a chance to guess what it is. Any guesses? I'll give you a few clues. It's 120 pages long. It takes about an hour and a half. Serve it on the web, serve it on a mobile phone. The experience is exactly the same. And we know that mobile users have shorter attention spans, like to do tasks in smaller periods of time. The devices that they use have inputs that are different than desktop computers. They're meant for touching and swiping and not typing. And so you may wonder, well, great, mobile is great, but that's a separate set of people. Most people are on desktops today. The folks that we have on our panels are using desktops. And I want to tell you that I think you're sort of thinking about it wrong. And I'm going to prove to you that mobile is not just another form of people using the internet. Soon, 1 or 2 years, it's going to be the only way that people access the internet and the only way that you can reach them to perform surveys. So let me prove it to you. Here's a chart of global internet traffic. You can see in 2013 about 15% of the total internet usage comes from mobile devices. In 2013, that would be about 30%. 2014, 30%. 2015, over 50%. So that means in about a year and a half, more people will be accessing the internet through a mobile phone than a desktop computer, mobile phone or tablet. It's a mobile device. And this is already happening around the world. So in developing nations, you can see that internet usage from mobile devices and phones and tablets already outpaces desktop internet usage. This is China, but it's happening in Brazil and India and a lot of developing nations as well. And some of those nations, have skipped desktops altogether. So countries in Africa never had desktop computers to begin with. They go straight to mobile phones and wireless communication. Even in the most connected country in the world, South Korea, where 98% of the homes have connected or high-speed connections on desktop computers, mobile queries to search engines outpace desktop queries, and that's just changing in the last couple months. And again, we see that here in the US as well, and other developed nations. And when you wonder where the money goes, this chart sort of says it all. This is ad spend by channel. And you can see here 2013-14 is right in the middle. This is when ad spend peaks on desktop. That means advertisers are spending more money, will be spending more money on mobile platforms, phones and tablets than any other place in the world. Finally, you look at sort of shipments of devices. The green here is desktop PCs, blue is notebooks, and the orange, the spike in the orange is from tablets. And you can see in just 2.5 years, tablet computers are outselling desktops and and notebooks, PCs. So here's sort of my warning to you. If you are a vendor, a research supplier who collects data, and you don't have a strategy for starting to collect data through mobile devices, you're in trouble. If you're a client that thinks you can continue to do these 120-page surveys on a quarterly basis and access the same people with good data, you're in trouble. This stuff is not going to exist in a couple years. And the time is now to sort of come up with those strategies and the technologies to reach people that you need if you're going to be surveying. Now, Google is kind of uniquely positioned, I think, in the mobile space. We own the Android operating system. And right now, there are about 1.7 billion mobile devices, phones or tablets in the world. 1 billion of those are running Android operating systems. So 60 or so % of all mobile devices have Google on them. And this kind of puts us in a really unique position because we can do lots of stuff with that. We have access to the operating system. So say, for example, if we had an app, we could install it by default on 1 billion different devices all at once. We could have APIs that let developers use surveys or other means to actually monetize their apps for 1 billion different people. In the end, Google is in a position where it's possible, in the very short future, that we could have a 1 billion-person panel that you could access anyone all over the world, which is really quite amazing. And the phone is kind of interesting as well because it provides new use cases for research and surveys in particular. We know your location, whether or not your phone is moving, the devices, the sensors that your device has, cameras, compasses. So we can do things like, let's suppose that you are on the train into work and you wanted to ask commuters specific questions. We could do that. We could find those folks. Let's say that you're a large retailer and you want to answer or have people answer surveys while they're in your store. We could probably do that. Let's say you wanted to have people take pictures of your shelf space and make sure that your product is displayed all over the world in the same way. We could do that pretty easily. So there are a lot of different use cases available in the mobile device, and surveys are a small piece of that. So I hope you're sort of asking yourself whether you're a client of research or a supplier, how can I take advantage of this opportunity, this technology that Google has? Because in the end, Google is a technology company. That's what we care about. We're not a client services organization. We're not out to go get market research clients. We're there to provide technology. And so if you take a look at the different things that we can do, if you are a client and you have in-house research, we have a do-it-yourself research platform for you that's simple, cost-effective, and fast. And you can take full advantage of that. This week, or maybe early next week, we're announcing a website satisfaction product. So if you have a corporate website or a personal website, you can have a free website satisfaction survey that runs on your website in a discrete fashion. It's a monthly tracker that will run every month and provide you with results for 4 satisfaction questions, and then you can add your own custom questions as well. And this will be available again in the next week or so. If you're a research firm or agency or supplier, you might also be wondering, how can I take advantage of Google's platform? And here, I sort of want to prove to you that we're not here to compete with you. We don't want your clients. We want to help you build better solutions for your clients and help them become, and sort of help them get the insight that they need. And so we're taking our interface just as you see it today. If you have a logo, color scheme, a URL, we'll provide a white label version of our app for you that you can send those URLs to your clients. It will look like it came from you and that you've done all of this great technology work. And this is available today. So if you are interested in this, come talk to us. This isn't the last slide isn't the one that I wanted, but you can come out to our booth and see it. We're giving you today, all the people at this conference, free access to Google Consumer Surveys to test it, to taste it, to give it a try. And so we have flyers over at our table that will give you a URL where you can go in and use a simplified version of our platform. You basically get one question, multiple choice question, 100 responses, but you can kind of see exactly how it works and for free without any cost. So that's it. I ended a little early, but I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has any.
Questions? We have a mic over here.
Are you going to do something with Google Hangouts to support the Qualies? And when?
Yeah, it's a good question. We don't have any plans to do so right now. There are lots of other teams at Google that are doing interesting things with Google Hangouts, and I would say stay tuned for those things. I think they can help with qualitative research, but my team doesn't have any plans to do such things.
More?
Approximately what the participating response rates are for these micro surveys on mobile devices?
Sure. So our average response rate is, so this is not on mobile, this is on the web. But our average response rate is 25.6%. So that's across all of our surveys and our publisher base. What that means is we show a survey and someone answers it. So it's the total number of answers divided by number of impressions of the survey. For our product as it exists today, the maximum number of questions per survey is sort of unlimited, but we only show them at most 2 questions to an individual user at a time. As I described, our mobile device and our mobile platform will allow us to do much longer form surveys, and that's what we're working on. You'll see in the next several months, we think we can do between 7 and 10 questions for surveys to individual user.
In your billion-person panel analogy,
yeah.
How do you handle user information opt-in? Is it part of the Android agreement, or how do people say, I want to participate?
Yeah, so what's going to happen, we're still sort of working all of these details out, but our goal is to have this installed on every single phone. And then what we will be doing is sending notifications down to users saying, would you like free music, movies, games, books on the Google Play Store? You can answer surveys to do that, and we'll have people opt in basically to answering those questions. I'm sorry? Right, so beyond just the individual survey questions, we have inferred demographic data about users. So we use the sort of big data at Google to provide metadata about the survey respondents, their demographics. We know how people are browsing the internet, and we create predictive models which predict the age and gender of the user. We know their location from the IP address, and then we also know from their location their income, whether or not they live in urban, suburban area, rural areas. And you can try this out if you go test out our platform. That's right. That's right. We can both target those users individually, and then, and then we can also segment the data if you do sort of like a Gen Pop type survey where we get a representative sample of the population. I'm sorry? That's correct. It's inferred. And I think this is one of the big questions that a lot of people have about our data. But if you look at it this way, a lot of times people use demographic data to as a sort of proxy for behavior. You want an 18 to 24-year-old male because you think they act this certain way. For us, we know exactly how you act. We know the websites that you've been to. We know the things that you're interested in and the things that you've seen. And so we can say, this is the type of person that is a 18 to 24-year-old male. And that's sort of the power of big data and inferred demographics in that sense. It's behaviorally based, yes. Sorry, hard for me to say. So we've done some research on that thus far. The funny thing is not much, actually. There are some specific differences. iOS users tend to have higher incomes, more educated. They're very similar, though, to internet users in general. So it's really more that there are people who have smartphones and people who don't have smartphones, and that's the biggest difference that we've seen. But the difference between iOS and Android users really isn't that much, and we'll have some data when we launch our mobile platform that describes the exact difference that we've seen. Later this summer.
I'm afraid we don't have any more time
I'm
for
sorry.
questions, but Paul, thank you very,
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
Paul will be around, so any other questions that didn't get answered, please feel free to come and see Paul. Thank you.